Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Lewandowski, America learned today that no one else would do what the president asked of you. Not McGahn, not Sessions, not Dearborn, and to the president's disappointment, not even you. Yet it was very important that you maintain a good relationship with the president, because after you left Trump campaign in December of 2016, you co-founded Avenue Strategies. Isn't that right?
Yes, it is.
I'm reading from their website. Avenue Strategies describes itself as having, quote, a core focus on government affairs, public affairs, strategic consulting, public relations, and crisis management to engage policymakers in our clients' behalf. That's what Avenue's website said. Am I right?
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't worked there in 2 years.
Okay. But that was the pitch when you did work there.
Yeah, I couldn't speak to that.
And you were pitching clients on your ability to engage policymakers. That means government access was important to you, yes or no?
No.
Okay, you couldn't engage policymakers without having access. And you did have access to the president. You acknowledged, and in fact, I would say you boasted, you were very close with the president. Isn't that so?
I think it's a fair assessment I'm close to the president. Yes, Congresswoman.
You visited him many times in the Oval Office. You called him on the phone. You had access that others didn't. It was important to you, wasn't it?
What was important to me? Speaking to the president?
Your access.
No.
Okay. And yet you did use that access to pitch clients. As I said, in December of 2016, you co-founded Avenue Strategies. And on December 17th of that same year, you took a business trip to Mexico to meet with Mexican billionaire Carlos Slim. Is that right?
It is.
Politico reported you traveled to Mexico on a business development trip with Slim. When you met with Slim, you pitched consulting services with him, yes?
No, that's fake news.
Oh, you met with Slim. You didn't pitch your brand new endeavor, your new enterprise. Did you tell him you could get a meeting at that time with then President-elect Trump?
Not that I recall, no.
I'm showing you a slide. Isn't it a fact that just 3 days later, on December 20th, Trump tweeted a presidential statement, a quote, yes, it's true, Carlos Slim, the great businessman from Mexico, called me about getting together for a meeting. We met, all caps. He's a great guy, exclamation point. And Slim did actually meet with the president-elect Trump a few days later, isn't that right?
I'm not certain.
This is all coincidence, I suppose. In fact, his spokesperson explained that Slim's, quote, sit down at Trump Mar-a-Lago resort came days after Lewandowski had traveled to Mexico on a business development trip and met with Slim. You also proposed to do work for a payday lender, Community Choice Financial. Isn't that correct?
I think the previous company I was working with did that work.
Okay, and you met or had some engagement with that client. Is that correct?
I'm not sure.
Well, I'll try to refresh your recollection. A source from that meeting said you pledged that you, quote, would get Trump to fire that company's arch nemesis, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau head, Richard Cordray. I think you'll see the slide reveals that, if they hired you and your firm, Avenue. Is that source accurate?
No.
Oh, they're lying too?
No, it's called fake news, Congressman. I'm sure you've never been misquoted.
Well, isn't it true, Mr. Lewandowski, that a few months later, in a live Meet the Press interview, you called for President Trump to oust CFPB Director Richard Cordray? Let me play you that clip now.
It's my recommendation to the President of the United States to fire Richard Cordray.
Another coincidence that you are pitching what your client wants you to pitch. Coincidence?
Congressman, how is this relevant to the hearing?
I'll ask the questions.
Okay.
Mr. Lewandowski, you met with representatives from Facebook and Blackstone to pitch them on Avenue services as well. Am I correct?
No, I don't recall that.
You don't recall that. Do you recall actually saying that you had access to the president's Twitter account?
Those words never came out of my mouth,
Did you
Congresswoman.
ever claim to have access?
Not to the best of my knowledge, Congresswoman.
Did you ever have access to the president's Twitter account?
I don't recall.
You don't recall if you had access to the president's Twitter account?
I don't believe I've ever had access.
Memorable to me.
Well, his Twitter follower is large, but I don't believe I've ever had access to his Twitter account.
Okay. I have just a few seconds left. Mr. Lewandowski, your role as the president's enforcer has evaporated. You can protect him no longer. Mr. Chairman, on this 223rd Constitution Day, we could not be in a more important place in this Judiciary Committee, proving to the American people that their Constitution, our Constitution, is stronger than a president in search of corruption and cover-up. I yield back.